That there's going to be a civil war?
If they keep taking away our rights and the Chinese move in, then we'll have a civil war.
Do you think that the Trump side would be more like the North or like the South?
More like the North.
Yeah?
Yeah.
In what way?
We're on the side of good.
And you think the South was on the side of?
Evil.
Evil?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a situation like the Civil War.
Eventually.
What side would you be on? North or South?
Look at my mask. That should tell you.
You'd be the Confederate side.
Absolutely.
When the late Shelby Foote appeared on Ken Burns' Civil War PBS documentary, he said, "I think the North fought the war with one hand behind its back." He added, "I don't think the South ever had a chance to win that war." Keep that in mind as I choose to entertain the idea of another civil war against my better judgment. Now back to the clip from The Good Liars. I don't know what this first person meant when she said, "If they keep taking away our rights," but this video was recorded early on in 2021, so I'm assuming she means COVID testing mandates and prevention measures like wearing a mask and social distancing. And I'm going to act like I didn't hear her say anything about the Chinese moving in. As for the Trump side being the good side and winners and more like the North, I don't know. I can only base this off of results, and he lost a popular vote twice. Plus, from what I see, Trumpers often put his flag next to those of Nazis and Confederates, losers from previous wars. Is it not weird that the North's flag would be the US flag, by the way? It's funny, or sad, that what defeats this Trumper's ideas is that another Trump supporter would undoubtedly be Confederate, so would they fight each other? This isn't to say that a new civil war would be regional. According to Barbara F. Walter, a political science professor at the University of California at San Diego, she says extremists could be leading the U.S. toward a modern-day civil war, although it's unlikely. Barbara F. Walter, who wrote How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them, has spent years studying civil wars, investigating risk factors, the difficulties of resolution, and approaches to ending the conflicts, according to this article from Business Insider. Walter told the Washington Post that several patterns began to emerge, two of which proved to be highly predictive. The second risk factor being, according to Walter, when people in unstable democracies begin to organize political parties along the lines of racial, religious, or ethnic identity, not completely dissimilar from many members of the Republican Party stooped towards embracing white supremacy in recent years. It's worth noting that she said the U.S. isn't headed toward a North versus South war with countrymen fighting one another in the fields. Instead, the country is at risk of insurgency, a form of civil war, according to Walter. Insurgencies tend to be more decentralized and are often fought by multiple, sometimes competing, sometimes coordinating groups.
He'll never be my president.
Okay. How could that change at this point?
Well, it could be a civil war. You never know.
What exactly conservatives mean when they say they love America? Because you hate most of the people who live here. You hate the civil liberties afforded by the Constitution. You hate the separation of church and state. You might claim to love its economy, but you hate all of the states that make up the largest parts of it. You hate the government. You hate people who are anti-government. You hate the rich because you think they're part of a conspiracy to fuck your kids. You hate the poor because you think they're lazy. You hate this country's natural beauty because it gets in the way of industry. You hate industry because it keeps giving jobs away to immigrants. You hate immigrants for taking things you feel entitled to. You hate liberals because you feel like they're too entitled. You hate government interference for getting in the way of big business. You hate big business for being too globalized. You hate globalism for taking jobs away from American workers. You hate American workers for unionizing and demanding better jobs. When you say you love America, what aspect of America are you actually talking about?
If Make America Great Again made anything abundantly clear, it is that they love a version of America that no longer exists. Some of them are just racist, but I think others are just confused because the American dream is gone and working people are struggling and their leaders are telling them different stories about what took that away.
My parents both of them was able to retire, pretty well. They're living a pretty good retirement and stuff, and they got nice homes. They got their pensions and all that stuff, and they're having a nice retirement. But it isn't like that for this generation here, for my generation.
Corporate media pushes all kinds of alternative explanations for why working people are struggling, and when conservative leaders are faced with processing the contradictory narratives, they choose to believe all of them. All of them are true.
There has never been a better time to start living the American dream.
Because that's easier than addressing the real problem, which is corporate power. The narrative is pushed that immigrants should be hated for stealing our jobs, and this is believable because people do see job losses in their communities. But corporations are deciding to hire immigrant workers because they can pay them less than they pay U.S. citizens.
Democrats put illegal immigrants before they put American citizens. What the hell is going on?
All the while, these corporations are lobbying Congress to not effectively prevent them from exploiting workers.
Our national wealth is up for grabs by whomever gets here first, and they are coming.
The narrative is pushed that immigrants are coming here because our country is great, and this is believable because people do see immigrants crossing the border. But they're coming to the U.S. because our foreign policy establishment and the CIA have been destabilizing countries across Latin America and Central America wherever their leaders have tried to prevent U.S.-based multinational corporations from exploiting their land and labor.
Now, of course, any tax hike on corporations, you will pay that. That will be passed on to the consumers.
The narrative is pushed that we should hate the government. Big government is a problem, and this is believable because many people experience the government to be dysfunctional and ineffective. This is because it's been defunded. Corporations have lobbied for cutbacks on public programs, so people instead depend on corporations for those services.
We will make America great again.
We can't live in a democratic, prosperous society where we have an authoritarian economy where very few people are in control of all of our resources and all of our labor power. And it's time for working people across the country to realize how contradictory these narratives are and stop letting them divide and distract us.